I want to update her on my project so that she knows, and just, hear what the latest is from her as well. I think it's courteous. I think it can prevent a possible problem, at least that our coaches that I've seen before, with people saying, is there a problem when the unexpected happens. But if that doesn't work for you, then forget it. I mean, totally just do it on your own and
Is that to?
I think this is a really important point. This is it has to be culturally fitting, whether it's quick wins or how you have these meetings, lunches with your boss's boss.
Not the whole bureaucratic the company
As well, sir.
There's some managers who feel insecure about themselves, and that kind of manifests in this form, and then maybe they feel that you're competing with them.
As well. I can't tell you. Look, we hear all the time people that say, Lisa wants my boss. I'm not picking on Lisa. I don't know why I'm picking on Lisa. Lisa, she was my boss a minute ago. So I think Lisa wants my job. So we hear that as well. Okay, but I can tell you, if you have a professional manager who's focused on the right things, he or she will actually encourage that. But it's not always going to happen.
Would you almost say that if your boss responds really negatively to you meeting with their boss, you probably don't want them as a boss for very long?
If there's a behavioral reason for that, yes, because they're not going to change. They're not going to change. I mean, you're touching on a topic that actually goes longer than I have on this particular point. But you made me realize one thing that I believe people do too quickly is they try and leave their boss too quickly or their company too quickly. They don't make the old college effort and really try and work it out, right? And it was the commute. The woman that I was coaching recently, and commute was killing her. She's worked it out where now she's able to work from home more often, and it's better. It's not great, but it's better for her. I'm sorry. One more, and please.
We actually had one of my former roles. We had skip levels, which were encouraged across the organization. Skip levels.
Yeah.
They were encouraged across the organization, so it removed this entire formality of asking anybody.
See, I think that's fantastic. May I ask the company you're at?
Not now. This is many years ago. AT&T and then Lucent.
See, that is just so smart to do that, right? I was talking to a woman from, I'm only using personally identifiable companies or names if it's a positive example. She's at Accenture. And she said they've got a mentoring program. We're going to talk about mentoring a little bit. And it's an official mentoring program. And you don't have to go through the awkwardness of asking her, would you,
The thing though, after a few years during the Lucent days, it did become somewhat of a joke about skip levels, and there were a lot of jokes being made about it in the internal network. But be that as it may, it actually fostered very good camaraderie within the team. And then later on, I was very fortunate because all the organizations that I was with, the diversity quotient was so high that the insecurity was never there with your immediate manager.
Which is fantastic. I'm guessing it may have increased engagement as well within the company.
Well, actually, the moment we were created as Lucent from AT&T, it was extremely high and sort of even took a northward bound like a hockey stick growth. But then after Lucent started having its problems, then there were several other factors that didn't really contribute to it.
Sure. Okay. Thank you. Okay. You can see the rest of the points here, the reasons that you would want to be meeting with your boss's boss. Particularly, I was at a company and just the CEO changed strategies fairly often, and for good reason. It was a very dynamic industry that we're in, and it was simply impossible for my boss to keep me up to date on everything that his boss was thinking. Just impossible. So that's where another way where the value can come in. Okay. That's the end of the second section, which is your first 3 months. Now we're going to move on to what I'm calling your future races. And there's a metaphor here that I'm using, which is, so we start off our careers as this plane, and then what we're doing in future races here is we're both achieving quick wins, and we're continuing our development, our professional development at the same time, so that we develop into this faster plane. And then after we develop into this plane here, we continue to get the quick wins, continue adding value to the company, and also developing ourselves so that we're even faster over time. So that's what this section is on. And you can certainly a lot of this can be relevant from the beginning of the company, your days at the company as well. But I really want to emphasize just how important it is to find out that from your boss and your boss's boss, and the CEO, if your boss's boss is not the CEO, the most important metrics that they're focused on. You have to know what metrics they're living by on a daily basis, so that you're focused on the same ones, assuming they're the right ones. One company I was at, it lived and died by lifetime value. And it was, and other metrics as well, but lifetime value drove that company to great success. And it was really critical. I'm sorry, I should have explained that. So lifetime value is, let's say if you're launching a new service, and you're evaluating whether or not to launch that service or not. Then what you do is you say, well, if we launch a service, then the average customer is, if they paid $100 to buy it the first time, and then there's a repeat purchase of two, so they're going to buy it 2 more times. So we're going to get $300 of lifetime revenue from that customer. Then you deduct all the costs associated with that revenue per customer, and it will net you down to a net lifetime value. And this is how the company was managed, and it got them through some really tough years economically, and they've been thriving. Not many companies are this disciplined, honestly. I've seen a lot, or I've been at larger companies that did not have such a disciplined approach to lifetime value. But it helps drive decisions about what products to launch and kill. Or if you're at a younger student, we've got a lot of entrepreneurs here. You just may be building out channels right now, trying to form partnerships, right? So you as an entrepreneur, or you're the founder, maybe just wanting you to focus on getting those deals done. Ashok and I, we were at our. Ashok was the interim CFO for a company that I was at. We had a colleague there, Prasanna, who in his first 3 months launched a new product, and it was the fastest product launch in the history of the company. And the company's about 10 years old. We launched a lot of products, and that was really critical for him for multiple reasons. Number one, it was a quick win in the first 3 months, and then the CEO would tell the story in the company-wide meetings. He'd say, Prasanna, who has launched the fastest product in the history of our company. And he would keep repeating that, maybe not every company-wide meeting, but every other, every third. And it was just, that was critically important to the CEO, and it set a great example for the company, and it was obviously a huge win for him as well. Career pathing. Some of the tables, we were talking about this a little bit. So what career pathing is you're saying, okay, this is where I am today. I'm a product manager, and I want to move up to the director level in a year. And so what you're doing is career pathing is you're saying, what are the skills that I need to acquire to develop to reach that director level? And then after that, I want to become a senior director, move up to a VP, etc. So what you're doing is you're laying out your career path there in the skill acquisition, and this is the part again about you need to simultaneously both be driving a lot of value at work and developing your skills. So that's really critical. you can work with, if you've got a good HR team, they can really help you with this. They should be helping you with this, particularly with the onboarding process. If you're at the Cisco's, the Oracle's, the larger the companies, they're doing this, they're doing onboarding, so they're planning out, they've identified you as a high potential, and they want to then plan for you to move into a certain role in 6 or 12 months, and they want to begin the onboarding process for that. Okay? If you're an entrepreneur, I've been on that side multiple times. There are certain skills that we have to develop. Whether it's I'm being coached right now. I'm always working with coaches myself, even though I coach, and I'm being coached right now by a sales coach. And he's been tremendously helpful in terms of how to work with companies on that level. And then developing mentors or champions. A mentor, Ty has a mentoring program, and so I cannot encourage you enough to tap into that. Can I just with a show of hands, how many people are working with a mentor currently? Okay, thank you. If you're not working with a mentor, I'd like to suggest tapping into Ties. It can be tremendously helpful.
I have a question.
Please.
So you mentioned reverse
Minor.
engineering the resume.
Oh, yeah. Should I explain that? Yeah, I should. Thank you for that briefing. So I have spent my last 14 years in internet marketing and mobile. And what that means is as I started there 14 years ago in San Francisco, I identified people kind of in my ecosystem that were 1 or 2 levels above me that really wowed me. And I felt like, I want his job or her role in a couple of years. And so what I would do is I would just go to their LinkedIn page. Some of them I connected, whether first level or not. And I would then go through their LinkedIn profile and identify the skill set that they had that I don't. And so I was reverse engineering their LinkedIn profile to match, and that was actually driving my career pathing. Did I explain that well enough? Yeah? Please.
You mentioned working with the HR team.
Yeah.
How do you proactively initiate that versus waiting for them to change it?
Yeah. Culturally appropriate is going to, we're going to hear that a lot tonight. It varies by company. Some companies, well, let me start here. A well-developed professional company that has a well-built-out HR team, they are proactively thinking. They're planning out, okay, so this gentleman's going to get promoted, so we need to fill, you're a high potential, we want to move you into his role when he promotes. So they're doing that proactively. They're identifying the high potentials, and then they're focusing on the onboarding process. If that is not happening in your company, I would totally encourage just having a very friendly, very positive initial conversation with your HR team, with your best HR contact, and just say, this is an interest for you. You love your job, and you kind of want to plan for the future, and can you have a conversation around that? Hopefully you're at a company that will be positively responsive to that. Does that? Yeah. Please.
Quick question to you, like the racing and training kind of things, which I would say. So obviously you want to find for future growth and all that is cool. But what if you're occupied by your boss who's lost your work, and how you will carve out valuable time for future building and
No.
skill sets? How would you
Sorry, Dan.
No, that's fine.
Sorry. Yeah.
Okay, so
Can you repeat? Yeah, I'm sorry.
My question is related to the title, which is racing and training simultaneously. So it's always a dilemma to split the time wisely so as to build towards future skills that will be needed and build your career from there. So how does one find the time or plan for it? Of course, with mentors and champions. Some of it is obvious, but I'm wanting to hear your perspective.
Sure.
Add to that, I mean, in some cases, it might not be in your boss's best interest for you to be developing the skills to leave him as soon as possible as well. So
To leave the company?
Well, either, or to leave his group to the next position, because he's gonna have to backfill it again. And so there's a kind of direct conflict there as well.
There can be, there can be. So what I would suggest is our first priority is we have to add as much value to our company as possible. Doing a great job has to be our focus, certainly. If we then have a boss, well, let me start here. We may be in a company culture, and I've been in company cultures where the work hours were insane, just simply insane. Okay, and so if the company was not providing it, I simply did not have the energy or time to do anything else, and that was just the way it was. And that may happen. I've also coached other people where I've seen the company culture supported development. Their boss did not. Okay, so this happens also. This now becomes this is kind of a longer conversation, but just real quickly what I've seen is the book. A book I'd like to recommend is Crucial Conversations. And I don't think it's in my PowerPoint, my apologies. Great book about having crucial conversations. And to do it in a really valuable, positive, proactive way. But your boss may not even be aware, first of all, that they're doing this. Or they may be totally aware that they're doing this. So you need to kind of diagnose that and see if there's a way that you can just say, you know, love working here, and we'll also love the opportunity to have some more development. I just start real positive. Positive and just start the conversation so you can figure out where they're coming from. Okay, we're not going to do our second exercise right now, and my biggest fear is coming true, which is I'm behind on my rather bit on the PowerPoint. But I think I would like to do this exercise because I think that I want this to be another outcome for us tonight. Here's what we're going to do. Okay, we're almost at the end of October. What I want you to do, spend a minute or so writing down, by the end of this year, you're going to commit to 2 quick wins that you're going to achieve by the end of this year. Okay, these are valuable to your company. If you're doing a job search, then it can be job search related. You're also going to list 2 networking actions that you're going to take by the end of this year to benefit the company. Right? Focus on the company, benefit your team. I'll just use as an example. You know, my last company I making contact with the California State PTA. To invest time into building that relationship, which grew into something very, very nice and positive. But that was, for me, that was would have been one of my 2. You know, maybe it's making contacts with people on other groups or other teams, other business units within your company. And then lastly, these 2 are by the end of the year. And then the third is I'd like you to list your top 3 skills that you're committing to develop in 2013. So go back to your prioritization with your career, think about your career pathing, and then list, you know, is this going to a public speaking workshop? Is this joining, if you're focused on career public presentation, is this joining a Toastmasters? Is this taking a financial analysis class? It's going to be different for everyone. Are these 3 clear? Okay, go ahead and take a minute or 2 to write them down for yourselves, and then, just like last time, have a quick discussion with your table, please.
So I think I'm going to
They have 2 weeks off anyways. Literally 6 weeks. Pretty much gone.
oh, it's okay. But then I'm really glad you made me commit to do it today. I was like, yes.
It's a good idea.
What to do?
You need to put the whole and you can have your own college. Go on to the but you already know the
the airport, you take step out. You probably know the city because one of the groups had a lot of programs
Just in general, I thought Germany's What's the primary? Yeah.
Serious about it. Chapters all over.
Oh, it's Right in the middle of Pennsylvania, it's a really small state college. Our campus is called M2U00611. There are people who have left their jobs. They have multiple campuses. The main campus, the largest one is in there before I joined, it was the safest releasing rankings all the
All right. We are, we're now going to go ahead and shift to doing a LinkedIn review. And just before I do that, I'm just curious, were there any quick wins that any of you had that you feel comfortable sharing that you'd like to talk about, that you want to achieve by the end of the year? Any slow wins? A lot of slow wins. Any networking actions? I mean, this is obviously a fantastic resource, obviously. Sorry? Please.
I wanted to share my networking, just recently I discovered, I downloaded my entire LinkedIn group of people I was connected to just last week. Sorry, can you hear me?
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I can go ahead? Okay. So this was just something I came across and discovered last week. I could download the entire list of my LinkedIn contacts and just classified them, with their titles and their companies, and that way I was able to determine these are the different categories of what type of people, and whom I'm trying to reach out to. And I'm yet to finish my strategic networking plan for 2013 or even right now to start. But it was very useful for me to actually, I hadn't done it before, so I was really excited, so I thought I'd share it. That's a very nice way to go back and tap in on the network that we already have.
Absolutely. And, our network, most people we don't tap into our network enough. We don't, if you think about the biggest successes that you've had in your life, probably most of them came out of your network, some introduction that was in your network. So I think that's a great example. The college that I turned around with 4 colleagues in Prague, that happened because someone in my network just asked me if I would teach a marketing class at the college once a week. And I said sure, and I started teaching, and I fell in love with the college. And I also saw I was about to burn to the ground, it was running out, it was virtually bankrupt. And so then 4 others and myself, we went in there. But that was just because of network. If it wasn't a friend helping me out that way and acquiring, we wouldn't have had that experience.
Sorry about the question is related to networking, which is like we were discussing at this table. My boss's perception is different from most other people. Like, he's very specific about networking with only the most relevant people that he can find in a room full of people. And I'm just curious about your perspective in the sense that my question would be framed like this, which is to say, you have the limitation of time in terms of how much you want to network with how many people. And that's one perspective, is to be selective, and the other one is to be using the perspective of the larger network, which is your so many degrees of separation from people. So in theory, the larger the network, the more probability of success in finding opportunities. So one side is being selective, the other one is of a large perspective and probability of finding success within that larger network.
Yeah, and I think you're hitting on an important point, which is how people network. I mean, what is network anyway? It's basically how we live our lives, right? I mean, how we interact with people. I mean, some people love doing that and are very social and love meeting new people and view it as a positive experience, and some people hate it. Just some people they don't hate people, they love people, but they don't like networking. A lot of people feel very anxious about it. So, and it's just who they are, and so it has to work for every person. But there was a very timing point. We don't have time to go into my networking slides tonight. I'm gonna continue that conversation later on an individual basis. The last thing that, so that was the end of the third section, and my apologies for going late here because we're going to shift over to the Q&A as soon as we do one last thing, which is I'm going to show you the LinkedIn profile that Preeti is very generously allowing me to use. The last section here, well, the good news is it's actually a very strong profile, so it's more best case examples than the other. So the last section here is going to be accelerating your speed. So you're the zebra there. How can you, using a motorcycle there to accelerate away from the lion? And in this section here, this is, sorry? Oh, that's a good question. This is a Rorschach test. Is it, sorry?
It's the boss who's trying to kill you.
It could be the boss, could be the competition, could be a lot of people, I suppose. I'm not going to go into these except for the LinkedIn profile, but I want you just to see if any of these things I'm touching, the slides I'm showing you, are of particular interest. Come up to me after the Q&A. There are 4 areas in developing yourself: visualizing, deliberate practice, managing your inner critic, and personal branding. Dr. Zhu, by the way, did a great job. I don't know if any of you were here for fantastic. For Dr. Zhu's presentation roughly 2 months ago, she covered personal branding, did a super job. If you weren't here for that, that is online on YouTube, Ty's YouTube account. If you have a particular interest in visualizing, or also called guided imagery, and how you can use that in your careers, be happy to talk about that later. Deliberate practice, or also called expert performance, how you develop these certain skill sets that we've been talking about. The book at the bottom there, I'd recommend Talent is Overrated by Jeff Colvin, excellent book. That's a continuation of deliberate practice. Your inner critic. Most of us have an inner critic to some sense, and there's a book there, the second to last bullet, if you want to learn more about turning your inner critic into your inner champion. And also there's a workshop, one of the leading career coaching workshops in the country, New Ventures West, has a workshop coming up in December. It's an Indian woman, I'm forgetting her name, I'm drawing a blank, but I've heard fantastic things about her in this workshop that she's going to be giving at New Ventures West. And personal branding, Dr. Zhu did a super job. On the drafting side, managing your network, which is really critically about LinkedIn, and this is the last thing we're going to cover, and then we're going to go to our Q&A. And thank you, Preeti, for letting me use your profile here. Preeti is, so in her profile, there are a number of excellent things that she's doing here. I'm going to start with a photo, which is, it's a very professional, very friendly photo. I can't tell you, I've given feedback to people. And one guy I was coaching, I said, it looks like you're at a party. Were you like holding a beer at a party? And I said, what were you doing there in that photo? Holding a beer at a party. And so I said, those are the photos that go on Facebook, but not, obviously not LinkedIn. So I just, we do, this is what, I'm telling you, this is what recruiters do, and then just other people, and they're doing a quick scan of your profile here. So obviously, Preeti has a variety of areas of expertise that are in her title there underneath her name. PM, marketing, UC, security, etc. She got her MBA from a fantastic MBA program at Anderson, which is at UCLA. That stands out. She has her summary here is very strong from her last role there. She just got a new job, which she'll be adding there. But this is, you can read this later or connect with her. This is very strong as well, very positive. And then same thing with her Cisco experience there. That was her summary, and that's her Cisco experience. Okay, also very good. The other thing that then I want to just jump down is, so this is a relatively new thing that LinkedIn has added, is the skills and expertise, so you can endorse people now. And I would encourage you to do this. And I would encourage to ask people to endorse you as well, right? It's another way to stand out. And then her education, she has a number of excellent recommendations. I've read through every one of them. They're really well written. They seem very sincere. Don't ask people, please don't ask people just for just a boilerplate recommendation. Try and ask people, do you think they're going to give something really of value in the recommendation? And then also she's a member of a number of groups here that you can see on the bottom. A quick word for those that on the SEO side, these links here, these websites, a lot of people don't customize them, they just say website. But actually, if you have a website that you're trying to increase the SEO for, this is in SEO search engine optimization terms, these links are called do follow. So you're getting some what's called LinkedIn juice from LinkedIn to your website. So it actually helped the website if you link to it here. But use specific tags here, Cisco, GlowSmart, etc. And then we've got a lot of groups that she's a member as well. And these groups, so LinkedIn's algorithm in terms of search results, it's a state secret, of course, like Google's algorithm. Their algorithm, I love LinkedIn, but it's not as robust, certainly, their algorithm. And so what happens is people end up using what's called keyword stuffing. And Ashok and I talked about possibly doing a separate workshop perhaps in the future, or discussion just around LinkedIn, building a great LinkedIn profile. But please don't ever do keyword stuffing in terms of repeating the same keywords over and over and over again, just to try and increase your rankings. It's bad for your personal branding and just doesn't look professional. And that's all on the positive side. What I would recommend is, in terms of suggestion, is really her right underneath her name here. And Preeti and I talked about this. So there feels to me like they're kind of conflicting ideas here, and I wasn't able to just quickly get a grasp of Preeti's personal brand and her expertise. And I'm seeing some heads shaking, so I think that's I may not have been the only one. Okay, product management. Okay, that's one idea. Marketing is a different idea, or can be. UC, not everyone's going to know what UC is, Unified Communications. A lot of people will. It depends on the recruiter. Security. Nonprofit director is a different idea. And then open to networking is kind of a different purpose for this title here. Preeti and I talked about this. She actually, and I hope you don't mind me referring to the vendor. Is that okay? So Preeti actually worked with a vendor that she paid to help her with her profile help, and they did it. I'm impressed. They did a very good job. The only thing I would suggest is that there are ways to still come up high in the rankings, but use certain of these keywords farther down the page, and then turn this into really more of a compelling personal branding statement. That's perhaps a little bit clearer. And then just the last thing I was going to mention on that is under experience. She does a very good job of filling out this experience here, and there are a lot of relevant keywords, because you want to identify the keywords you want to be optimized for results, and then it's relevant keywords, and then use those keywords in a natural way. That will drive your rankings in the algorithm, as well as a number of other factors that I don't have time to go into. But what she could be doing is, in her experience underneath that, going into a lot more detail and filling that out. That'll help her rankings as well, by filling out areas like that. That's a really quick overview. I just want to touch on that quickly. Let's now go ahead and switch into Q&A, and we'll start there. Please.
Go back to how to activate your view the last slide you went through the stats.
Sure.
I would rather
Sure. Sure. Let me do this. How about, we're stopping in about 22 minutes. I'm sorry, we're stopping in about 15 minutes, and I know some of you may need to leave, so please leave at whatever point you need to leave, certainly. I'd like to do a quick, vote. I'm going to give you two options. Through a show of hands, the quick vote is how many. We're going to choose one of these topics in accelerating your career. How many of you would like to vote on that and choose that? Versus how many of you would like to just go do a full-on Q&A, and then you and I after the Q&A, we can just sit down and go through this section. Do you have a preference? Is that all right? Let's do a quick vote. How many of you, through a show of hands, the two options, we choose one section from Accelerating Your Career that we walk through now, and then do a quick remaining time in Q&A, or we just go straight to the Q&A. So the first option is voting on one of a section from Accelerating Your Career. And then the other option is to go straight into the Q&A. Okay.
We'll do the section in about 10 minutes and then we'll wrap it.
Do the section now? Yeah, okay. In terms of accelerating your career, we have three choices. I'm going to do a quick vote on that as well. Developing yourself, and these are the four things that we would touch on. Drafting, which is LinkedIn, which we already talked on. So drafting mentors is the second option. And then the third option is going to be managing others. So managing others, mentors, developing yourself are the three options. Show of hands for mentors. That's about 8 or 9. A show of hands for developing yourself. Okay, and then lastly, was managing others. Okay, so we're going to do the most votes there was the managing yourself. Please.
Managing your manager as well?
Yeah. Yeah. No, you're right. Just based on the vote there, I'm gonna, yeah. But you're right. This will be the last section. And when we're done with this, come up to me personally with any specific questions. Visualizing, deliberate practice, inner critic, personal branding. Dr. Zhu did a great job on personal branding. I'm going to leave that off. Visualizing. So visualization, or also called guided imagery. Just a quick show of how many of you have done visualization or guided imagery before? That's great. Yeah, that's great. For those of you who haven't done it before, I've probably been through 10 or dozen lead sessions. It's using, you go into a relaxed state, and then it's using mental images to achieve some career goal. And you're visualizing these things in your mind to achieve these things. Guided imagery or visualization is used increasingly in progressive hospitals across the country. They're using it today to, I'm acquainted with a nurse who is on the cutting edge of this here in the Bay Area. And it's been found, it's being used, guided visualization in terms of pre-operation, during the operation, and post-op. And it's been found to reduce pain reduce anxiety, shorten, quicken the recovery process. So it's having really profound scientific benefits on the healthcare side. A lot of you have already done it before. I've used it for any variety of things, but I even used it in my last company. We did a branding project, and I did it for branding sessions, trying to understand the brand even better. So just to give a quick overview of how this would, ways that you could use it, is what I would recommend, is probably doing, if you haven't done one before, and is working with a hypnotherapist who's trained in this and is excellent at it, that you feel comfortable with. And this can be, say, typically a 45-minute session. They'll spend 10 or 15 minutes just kind of put you in a relaxed state. You're totally aware and cognizant for the entire 45 minutes. You know, they're not going to make you walk like a duck or anything like that. And so what you do is, in that relaxed state, then they will start walking you through these guided imagery. And so let's just say if you're making a big presentation at work next month, then what they would do is they would walk you through, you would literally visualize that entire experience from start to finish. And you would focus on both your preparation, you'd focus on then the audience when you're there, and you can also visualize that there's either a inner